Good afternoon, students. This is our second to the last class session. Um, I think by early December, final exams are scheduled. So I have not made any plans about the final exams. Like I told you, the notes that you are taking and submitting to me screenshots of will be part of the final exams activity, whatever it is. I still have to think about it. But I want the final exams to be integrative. In other words, matatalakay natin lahat ang kabuuan ng kurso na ginawa natin ngayong semestro upang mapatunayan natin na naintindihan natin. Kasi alam nyo itong topic natin, obligations and contracts, although hinati-hati natin para magkasya sa buong semestro, ito ay isang topiko lamang. This is only one subject matter. And you have to have a comprehensive understanding of the entire course in order that A, you'll pass the course, B, you have a good chance at the board exams, and C, you have some stock knowledge. Stock knowledge, importante yan pag kayo ay nagpa-practice na. The reason why law schools, the good law schools, are very difficult to pass is because they drill into the students a certain amount of stock knowledge. So if you notice, meaning ko sa inyo, itong topic ko na ito, this topic of obligations and contracts is not really my field. I am a criminal lawyer and I have also done maritime law. But because of my training, my exposure in trials, as well as the stock knowledge I gained from law school, I'm able to teach it. So I want you to be able to have that facility, you have to have that skill of a certain bulk of stock knowledge. And tulad ng lagi ko sinasabi mga kaibigan, itong pinag-aralan natin itong semestro na to, napaka-practical. Ang dami lang mga termino, ang daming mga salita, ang daming mga phrases, ang daming mga concepts. Ngunit alam nyo, pag sama-samahin nyo yan, when you integrate all of these ideas and concepts, they make sense. The law on obligations and contracts is really based on common sense and practice. Kaya napaka-useful nito. And I want you to have a stock knowledge. So we're going through the provisions one by one, at least the important ones, the ones I think that you should know because you are not lawyers, so that you will be able to understand how these things get together. Alam mo, para itong Lego. Kung yung Lego kasi ilagay nyo sa karton, tingnan yung mga piraso, hindi mo malalaman kung ano yun kung hindi mo titignan yung picture. Kahit na tingnan mo yung picture, hindi mo maintindihan paano mo ipagsasama-sama yan. Babasahin mo yung instruction manual at doon mo makikita paano yung mga maliliit na piraso nagsasama-sama, magkakaroon ka ng truck, o spaceship, barko, bahay, kung ano yung nakalagay doon sa litrato sa kahon. Ano? So that's the same thing here. We are going through the provisions little by little. It's very boring, very technical, but once you get all of the pieces together and you start playing around with it, you can make beautiful things. Okay. I give you an assignment, so we will pick up on some ideas from that. But first, let me pick up from my last lecture. We talked about fraud. Ngayon, technically, there are two types of fraud. There is what's called causal fraud, and there is incidental fraud. Causal fraud is the type of fraud, yung panloloko. Fraud is panloloko. At hindi lahat ng panloloko, tulad ng sinabi ko last session, hindi lahat ng panloloko ay magbibigay ng paraan o basehan para i-invalido ang isang kontrata. So there, causal fraud, dolo causante. Dolo is fraud in Spanish. Dolo causante or causal fraud is the only basis for voiding a contract. No? In other words, it is the type of fraud where one of the parties, not both, kung naglolokohan sila, there is no contract. One of the parties employs causal fraud, dolo causante, in order to induce the other to join in the contract with the intention of taking advantage of that party. And what is the most usual means of taking advantage of a party? It's to make money out of them without giving anything in return. Di ba kunento ko sa inyo na scam ako dito sa Facebook? Ewan ko kung naalala nyo, but very simply, ang nangyari, I saw sa Facebook, isang magandang ad, ang ganda ng kanilang, I looked at their website, it looked okay, so, and the price was good, I bought a dash cam. I just bought one, buti na lang, I really need two. And they didn't deliver. They created this Facebook page para manloko. That is the dolo causante, that is the causal fraud, which caused me to believe them and say, "Oy, this is a reliable company. It has a very nice company. It's got a nice website. There are many responses." And then I gave them my 1,000 pesos and they gave me parang bato lang ang binigay. Nagbigay lang sila ng mga bote-bote. So I have not taken care of it because I've been busy this week. I have to contact my friend, the Secretary of Justice, to have the NBI go on them. Okay, so that is causal fraud. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be able to look at the difference between 1338 and 1344, which I am presenting to you now. In order that a fraud may make a contract voidable, walang bisa yung kontrata, dapat ito ay causal fraud. It is serious. In other words, naloko ka dahil dito. And should not have been employed by both parties. Siyempre, hindi pwede yung both parties. So, yung example ko, was it serious? Of course. Kung hindi sila nasa Facebook, hindi ang ganda-ganda ng kanilang website at saka para silang merong business history, ay hindi ako maniniwala sa kanya. Isipin ko, nanloloko sila. Tapos, COD pa, di ba? So, meron akong protection. Of course, I wasn't able to receive the item myself, but nonetheless, that was some sort of protection. Still, naloko ako. So, that is causal fraud. Okay, so, I like you to look at the term. You look at this. I'll make it yellow. Causal versus incidental fraud. Okay? So that was the topic we had on what makes a contract void or voidable. Later on, we will study what is the difference between void and voidable contracts. Wait, napakadali na yan maalala, mga kaibigan. Void yung talagang walang consent. Okay? Voidable yung, if you look at our notes, Article 1330 of the Civil Code, mistake, violence, intimidation, undue influence, and fraud. Pinag-usapan na natin yan last time. So I'm just emphasizing it again. I will go back, ladies and gentlemen, to 1327. 1327 says contract with insane people, and we talked about this last time also, but I will amplify it some more just to drive it home to you because it's very interesting. Dito tayo nahihirapan because like I told you last time, modern psychology is not yet really modern, and so we do not really know what constitutes the act of a crazy person, an insane person, and an act of an insane person who has what's called a lucid interval. I'll emphasize that in yellow also so that you can see it in your notes. You can put it in your notes. Lucid interval. People have noticed that people who are suffering from dementia or other forms or more severe forms of psychological in capacity have certain moments where they are able to understand what is happening and are able to make certain valid decisions. So that's called a lucid interval. Alam niyo kung gusto niyo mag-insulto ng tao at hindi kayo hindi ayaw niyo maintindihan kayo, tawagin niyo sila ito, non-compos mentis. Non-compos mentis is Latin for not of sane mind, not of proper mind. Ano? So marami akong pwedeng tawagin non-compos mentis, especially after the elections. But bahala na kayo kung paano nyo gagamitin yan. So, that is what I just wanted to pick up from the last lecture we had. So I gave you an assignment. I gave you the assignment of interpretation of contracts. Interpretation of contracts is very logical. It's common sense. So I'll just let you read it. I will just focus on certain concepts, which I am now highlighting in yellow. Anong sinasabi ng Civil Code? When a term is used in a contract, the normal, logical meaning of that term is the one that is intended. If not, it is based on the custom of the area. Now you must remember they wrote this civil code. This is based, this provision of the civil code is based on the Spanish Civil Code. The Spanish Civil Code is based on the Code Napoleon. The Code Napoleon is drawn from the Code of Justinian. Galing pa yun ng Roman times. Wala pa yung internet, wala pa yung TV marketing, wala pa yun yung phone brigade na tumatawag sa iyo, oy, gusto niyo bumili ng insurance, gano'n, di ba? Tatawag sa inyo, hindi mo naman kilala. Okay. So, itong vagueness or obscurity in the words has become even more a greater problem today in interpreting contracts. I'll give you an example. In the United States kasi, they have a very good set of consumer laws, at least on the federal level. I do not know at the state level. Iba-iba kasi ang mga batas sa state. They can formulate their own laws for consumer protection. But in the federal system, for the entire states, the United States, within their country, they have very good protection for consumers as far as I understand it. I'm not an expert on US law. They already defined what is a sale or bargain sale. No? And so, hindi makakalusot yung mga nasa Lazada, mga ganon, na may bargain sale. Actually, hindi pala bargain sale, di ba? Meron kasi yung agaw pansin, di ba? Na-notice niyan sa Lazada. May agaw pansin sila na, uy, itong relo na to, 200 pesos lang. Ngayon kung i-google mo yan, o tingnan mo sa ibang mga advertisement sa Lazada, ibang mga shop sa Lazada, makita mo the same watch is being sold for 800, 1,200. Alam mo, pinaka-popular na watch ngayon sa Lazada, yung G-Shock, di ba? Daming peke na G-Shock. So, syempre, when you're buying a G-Shock that's less than 5,000 pesos, alam mo, peke yan. But some people like it. I mean, that's okay. You just want to have an electronic watch. And the Chinese, it's not so difficult to make an electronic watch nowadays. Hindi na to 1980s eh. So the G-Shock is really being bought more for its appearance than its technical prowess. Wala na yan, napakasimple ng mekanismo ng G-Shock. Kaya hindi na siya masyadong komplikado. So if you buy a cheap G-Shock, unless talagang bulok yung pagkagawa, it will still work. Ano? But why do they sell the G-Shock for 200 when they will be selling it normally for 1,200? Kasi ma-attract ka sa kanilang website, sa kanilang shop. At pag na-attract ka na ron, di ba gusto mo magtipid sa delivery charge? Yung delivery charge ng Lazada, malaki-laki rin eh. So para makatipid ka, you buy several things from the same shop para ma-offset yung cost ng delivery. Kasi isang delivery lang naman yan eh. So at least nasulit yung delivery fee. Parang libre na rin yung delivery kung marami kang in-order. So that's what I do. And again, during the 11/11 sale, ang dami nag-cancel na Lazada kasi they were just agaw pansin. pampaagaw pansin sa bargain sale. But okay lang because even without the item, I'm still happy with my purchases, di ba? Yun lang, okay sana kung nakuha ko yung item na murang-mura. So uh, that is the obscurity. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng uh, buy one, take one? Di ba? Ano ibig sabihin ng bargain? So, this is where the civil code comes in. It says that when there is an obscurity in the words of a contract, especially as to technical or special terms, the one who created obscurity is the one responsible for any misunderstanding. So you can actually argue with Lazada that when they say it's a bargain sale, it should be a valid sale, di ba? But of course, I'm not going to argue with Lazada just for a couple of $100. So our topic today, ladies and gentlemen, is object and cause of contract. So object is covered by Articles 1347 to 1349. I want to introduce to you, I want to reinforce with you the concept of outside the commerce of man. Ano ang sinasabi ng 1347 to 49? Ha? Tingnan natin. By the way, CHED, my wife is the legislative liaison of CHED, so I know this. CHED has mandated that all state universities and colleges can stop online classes next semester, which is also good because I'm personally, as a teacher, I'm not too happy with online classes. I wouldn't know any of your abilities because I don't know you personally. And maybe blended, but certainly face-to-face classes are required next semester. And I think that's logical because mga elementary schools at high schools, nagka-face-to-face na. Alanganin naman kayong mas matanda, dapat meron na kayong vaccinations, di ba? So at least may laban kayo sa anumang sakit, lalo na COVID. Okay, hopefully, if somebody does get sick, the government will help. But I don't know that because so far, the government has proven not to be helpful. I'm not sure if I will be able to teach, by the way, because I've never been paid, for my 2 semesters of teaching. I started getting paid last week, and the rate pala is very, very low, and unfortunately, I spend more than that on a day to go to Binangonan. It's expensive to go to Binangonan because I have to bring my vehicle and I have to eat there and things like that. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not doing this as a job, I'm not teaching for a living. But still, I was hoping that the honorarium paid to lecturers would at least cover the cost of fuel. Kung ma-cover sana yung aking cost of fuel, I wouldn't mind going anywhere because but I cannot just keep spending especially fuel because the cost of fuel can be really great, especially for somebody like my family, my wife and I, we both drive. So I'm still thinking about it. I cannot ask my wife to tolerate my spending for fuel and not getting paid for it. So I'll have to think about it. I would have wanted to at least nurture one or two classes through the board exams just to see if, to get a feeling rin if I did anything correctly or if I did things incorrectly. I want to help people like you pass the board exams, become successful professionals. Yun lang ang happy ko dito sa trabahong ito. Like I told you, I'm happy because when I first taught at UP, many of my students have become successful people. The chief of staff of the army is my former student. He was a very good student back then. at UP. So many of my students in college some of them are lawyers already. Many of them are executives, so I'm very happy. It's the only thing that keeps us teachers happy. Yung pera, of course it's usual kung may pera, di ba? May panglasad. But I was hoping my gasoline cost, at least my diesel cost at least could be covered. I have a diesel and a gasoline vehicle, and the diesel vehicle, although matipid, still uses very expensive fuel. Okay. 1347. All things which are not outside the commerce of men, including future things, maybe the object of a contract. Object is the subject, the thing which two people contract with about, di ba? They contract with each other to do a certain thing, whether it is a service or whether it is to provide a thing or to do something to a thing. There's always a thing in a contract, di ba? Even in a donation, there's a thing. When I donate to my daughter, I'm donating something. Money, property, a car, things like that, di ba? Okay. What are the things outside the commerce of men? It's hard to say what are the things outside the commerce of men, but suffice it to say that these are the items which are not commonly traded. Okay? Trading is usually the most usual cause. Okay, cause, not object. Cause of a contract. The consideration for many contracts is to be able to trade something for money or something for another thing. Diba? So when you trade something for money, that's a sale. When you trade something for another thing, that is comodatum. Well, either donation or the special contracts. Okay? So, for example, the Red Cross does not sell blood. Human blood. Okay? Pag kayo malasit, mayroon kayong mahal sa buhay o kaibigan o kayo ay nangangailangan ng dugo sa ospital dahil sa operasyon or dahil sa ibang medical procedure, you can get blood from the Philippine National Red Cross. And they are duty-bound to give it. Ang hinihiling lang nila, because the Red Cross, of course, incurs costs in taking blood from donors and storing it. So what they ask is not a donation. They ask you to provide a donor to provide. If you ask for 3 liters of blood, they ask somebody, if you know somebody who will donate 3 liters of blood. So at least na-replenish yung kanilang stocks. Lalo nang gusto nila yung mga rare na mga dugo kasi pag kailangan na, mahirap hagilapin. The Red Cross does not sell and the Red Cross does not pay for blood. So you cannot go to a Red Cross facility or to the Department of Health facility or your health center and say, ay, kailangan ko pambili ng shabu, pwede ba ibenta ko yung aking dugo? O kahit 2 litro, kaya ko yan, malakas katawan ko eh. You cannot sell blood. Blood, human blood, is outside the commerce of men. How about pig's blood, Miss Cordero? Miss Cordero?
Yes, sir. Ano po yun?
Pig's blood, is it outside the commerce of men?
Ano po, sir?
Pig's blood, dugo ng baboy. Sabi ko kasi dugo ng tao, hindi pwedeng ibenta, di ba? Dugo ng baboy, is it outside the commerce of men?
I think po hindi po, sir. Ay.
Walang bumibili ng dugo ng baboy. Alam mo ba yan, Miss Cordero? Namamalengke ka ba?
Yes po.
Nabibili ba ang dugo ng baboy? Huwag sa SNR, ha? Sa
Yes po.
palengke. Hindi mo mabibili. Binibigay yan.
Dito po kasi sa amin sa subdivision namin, hindi po kasi siya libre.
Talaga? Okay. Ang alam ko, pang PR yan ng mga may baboy eh. Binibigyan nila yan sa mga suki nila. Libre ang dugo ng baboy. But it is not outside the commerce of men. Except lang na hindi talaga tinitrade. No? Okay, thank you, Ms. Cordero. Buhok ng tao, Miss Moreno. Miss Moreno?
Sir,
Oo, ano, buhok ng tao. Pwede bang
binibili
ibenta?
po. Opo.
Ano bang ginagawa sa buhok ng tao? Alam mo?
Sir, ano po? Hindi. Pero po, ang idea ko po, yung ano, sir, may ano po kasi, may manggagamot po sa amin, ganun. Tapos parang, binibili niya po yung buhok ng tao, tapos parang, ano, bendisyonan, ganun. Tapos ginagamit niya po pang gamot.
Ako, albularyo yata yan o kanya na magkukulam.
Ewan ko po, sir.
Buhok na ganito, nabibili ba? May puti, may itim. Nabibili ba yan? Palagay mo.
Hindi po. Feeling ko po, sir, hindi.
Yan sa barbero, di ba yung nahuhulog doon? Binibili ba yan?
Sir, ano din po, nagagamit pong wig.
Nagagamit pang wig. So, ang binipili nila,
Opo.
mahabang buhok. Di ba?
Opo. May length po.
Kung dito sa profile picture mo, Miss Moreno, mahaba buhok mo. So, kung pahabain mo pa yan ng konti at nangangailangan ka ng pera, pwede mo benta yan. Magtiis ka na lang na medyo boy cut ka, no? Medyo bob cut yung buhok mo. But at least meron kang pera kasi bibilihin yung mahabang buhok, lalo na kung maganda. Siyempre, hindi nila bibilihin yung puro lisa, di ba? Gano'n, o hindi healthy yung buhok mo. But your profile picture, you look like you have nice hair, you can sell that. And you can make good money. No? Lalo na kung mahabang-mahaba because they made it into wigs. Ngayon, yung tinatanong ko kaninang pepper, salt and pepper na buhok, binibili nila kasi gumagawa na rin silang wigs na salt and pepper. Kasi kung kalbo ka na lalaki, okay na sa yung salt and pepper kaysa kalbo. Diba? So, binibili rin yan. Okay, so, thank you, Miss Moreno. I'm sorry to say this, I worked for so many years for Bantay Bata and other child justice and human rights organizations. May mga tao nagbebenta ng kanilang anak. In fact, mayroong mga tao nagbubuntis, na hindi pa pinapanganak, binibenta na nila. Miss ko, ano palagay mo? Anong tingin mo dyan? Is that covered by 1347 na pinag-aaralan natin ngayon? Miss ko? Please turn on your mic. I can see you, but I cannot hear you. Miss ko? Oh.
Ayan.
Okay.
Yes po, sir.
Anong tingin mo doon sa mga taong whether man or woman who are selling children, babies, anak nila?
I think hindi naman po siya cover, sir.
Outside the commerce of man yun, ano?
Opo.
Hindi lang outside of the commerce of man, kakasuklam-suklam yun, di ba? I'll tell you worse. Meron nagpa-prostitute mga anak nila, yung mga online sex videos wherein foreigners like to see children, even infants, involved in sex. It's really repugnant. And clearly, 1347 does not cover those sorts of things. In fact, those are illegal. Those are criminal acts. Ano? Ewan ko ano nangyari sa Pilipinas. We are one of the top countries for online child abuse, sexual abuse. I do not know how we got to this level. Ganun ba kahirap ang pera ngayon? Na pati anak mo, ibubugaw mo. Hindi mo na ibubugaw. You will perform or have the child perform abnormal sexual acts for the entertainment of foreigners. This is really shows how terrible our society is becoming. Okay. So, while we were talking about that, Miss Ko, nakita mo yung last sentence ng 1347? Pakibasa nga, please. Meron ka bang...
As
Ah,
all services which are not contrary to law, morals and customs, public order, or public policy may likewise be the object of a contract.
so, lagi kong ina-emphasize sa iyo, ano? Sa inyo. Please remember this term. Lagi yan lalabas. Not only if you are becoming lawyers or you become legislators or become public policy makers, public policy implementers, like if you're in government, administrators, but it's very, very basic. Ano? So, halimbawa ka, Miss Villadiego, I have a friend. She's a Filipino, but she's already an American citizen. And when they go to Las Vegas, alam mo yung mga girls when they get together, they kind of naughty. They like to watch itong Chippendales. Alam niyo yung Chippendales? These are good-looking, muscular men who are dressed very scantily. They're just wearing a bow tie kuminsan. And they dance and perform very suggestive dances in front of women audiences usually. Although siguro may bakla rin dyan na nanonood. Huh? So, is that a legal service, Ms. Villadiego? Can you please present yourself?
Hindi po, sir. Hindi ko po ma-open yung cam ko. Sira po yung cam.
Okay. Wait, bakit ginagawa sa Las Vegas? Mukhang legal naman. It's legal in Las Vegas. Meron din niya counterpart dito sa Pilipinas. I've never watched it. Hindi ko type. But maybe some other women have watched it. And if you want to watch it and you're a woman, ganito kasi yan, Miss Villadiego, as long as they're just dancing, they don't take off their clothes and do anything sexual in nature, it must be legal. You know, I mean, have you watched the K-pop? Many of their dances are very subjective, di ba? They're wearing these very short dresses. They're showing all their curves and their legs, etc. Isn't that similar to a man who's dressed in his briefs, wearing a necktie only? Isn't that the same? But it's legal. Suggestive, sexually suggestive, is legal. If they start taking off their clothes, that is illegal. So that is an illegal service only if it is overtly sexual in nature. But if it is only suggestive, di ba? And you know, the Chippendales, they are of course advised by lawyers. Uy, baka mamaya bigla kayo nag-google ng Chippendales. Chippendales is like is spelled Chippendales, you know, but it's really Chip and Dales. I think so. Ano, Chippendales talaga sila? I don't know. Baka mamaya mag-google kayo mga ladies. They must have been told by the lawyers on what they can and cannot do in front of their female or gay audiences. I say female or gay because I cannot think of a red-blooded man who would want to watch a guy like that. Okay, so I don't know about you. So they do not do anything that is illegal, that is overtly sexual. Okay, they don't let the women touch their private parts. They let them touch their muscles, but you can touch a guy's muscles in the beach. Diba? As long as it's with his consent. And I cannot think of a man who will not give consent. So, suggestive is okay. Thank you, Ms. Villadiego. Ikot-ikutin muna natin itong topic na to. Oh, Oh, ito si Miss Volante. Miss Volante, pinag-uusapan natin itong 1347, services which are not contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, public policy. Yung malabanan, alam niyo yun? Yung malabanan, you can pay them extra, may papasok dun sa Poso Negro nyo, lilinisin niya talaga ng mabuti yung may dala siyang walis. Tapos ipapump nila kung ano man yung dumi na nandun sa ilalim. Para sigurado kang wala malinis yung poso mo at hindi mababara at hindi mo pupuno agad. Anong palagay mo dun sa serbisyo na yun? Yun ba ay legal o ito'y contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, or public policy? Alin doon ang tinutukoy mo? Miss Volante. That's the price for being late. Yeah, it is legal obviously because Malabanan does it. It is very, very distasteful, lalo na kung ikaw yung papasok dun sa Poso Negro, because wala pa ako nakita Poso Negro na malinis. No? By its nature, it is really dirty. I don't know why they do it, but I suppose talagang may Poso Negro na marumi at maburak sa loob at hindi nakukuha ng pump. I do not know how that can happen because I have a pump and it can clean anything. So I don't understand that. But anyway, it's being done. You pay yung nagsisipsip ng poso extra. Kasi ano isang lang nasisipsipin nilang yun, may matitira. At palagi yung sinasadya nila yun. But if you go through Manila Water, my community is serviced by Manila Water. Manila Water does this from time to time kasi talagang libre dapat yan sa Manila Water. We're paying for that eh. Hindi ka naman magpapasipsip ng poso every time, di ba? Siguro once a year, madalas na yon. So, they don't do that. Wala silang ganong service. Kasi yung pagsipsip nila, yung kanilang pump, napakalakas. Walang problema. Okay. So, nakita nyo na ha? Cost of contracts. We have about 15, 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll break tapos we'll come back. Although cost of contracts is the last topic in our assigned subject today, I want to give you some foretaste of what's going to happen because next session is our last lecture session. And I have not yet decided what to do for the final exam or final activity. But I assure you, like I keep saying, I want to help everybody not only pass, kasi madali pass na yan. Bigyan ko kayo lahat ng uno. Diba? Ano magagawa ng University of Rizal? Wala na ako next sem. Ano magagawa nila sa akin? Diba? But no, my objective is you learn something. And you're able to apply that at the proper time. Pag professionals na kayo, o kahit hindi kayo makatapos at nag-business kayo, pumasok kayo sa accounting business, at least meron kayong konting alam. Diba? Hindi na sayang yung pinag-aralan nyo sa University of Rizal. Scholar kayo ng bayan. Okay. Cost of contracts in the Philippines is the same as consideration. Every contract must be supported by adequate or valuable consideration. Please include that in your notes. A contract which has no adequate or viable consideration is void. It cannot even be remedied. You have to enter into a new contract wherein there is a valid, adequate, or valuable consideration. Now, why do we use this term valuable consideration? In the common law, in European practice, in Western practice, in other words, Europe plus the United States, a contract always involves something of value. You must remember that the contract law grew because of trade. During the 19th century especially, contract law grew together with economic expansion in Europe and the United States. And all of this economic expansion was fueled by trade. The United States became a exporting powerhouse. Britain, because it was the largest empire at the time, was nourished. It grew on trade. Alam mo sinasabi ng mga Indians, the Indians in the Indian Peninsula, not the Indians in the United States. The Indians in the Indian Peninsula say that their country was raped by Britain to the amount of $1 trillion. Can you imagine? $1 trillion worth of wealth of India was taken by Britain during all the years, the centuries that Britain was the imperial power over India. India was the crown jewel of the British Empire because it was so rich and it provided wealth for the British Empire. And that is why we have the law of contracts in its present form, in its complexity today. And the only contracts which were valid, which were being made on a daily basis, hourly basis, minute basis, in all of these countries involve trading for goods and money. You sell something, you get paid in money. You sell something, you get paid in goods, which you can then sell. Diba? Barter. So, it was important that a contract have valuable consideration. So they always ask, does your contract involve valuable consideration? But nowadays, when we talk about contract law, we just talk about cost because the consideration need not be valuable. Can you please take a look at 1350? In contracts of pure beneficence, mere liberality is a cost for the contract. Liberality is not valuable consideration. Valuable consideration means the thing, a watch, or a product from Lazada, or a product from SM, or a house and lot from Villar. All of these have some value for the person selling it and for the person buying it. That's why we talk about valuable consideration. When a person gives something, when I give my daughter, for example, a gift of an expensive watch, the watch itself is valuable, but there is no exchange of value. My daughter does not pay for it. I don't intend for her to pay for it, even if she offers to pay. So what is the valuable consideration? The consideration, not valuable, but valid in an act of donation, in an act of beneficence, liberality, is the mere act of liberality or kind-heartedness. Kung nagbigay kayo sa Caritas, kung nagbigay kayo ng donation like I did during Leni Robredo's campaign, you don't get anything in return. Had she won, do you think she'll appoint me? No, I don't even want to. Diba? It's purely out of kind-heartedness. So that is the consideration in a contract involving pure liberality or beneficence. Kind-heartedness. Christian kindness, if we have to use a familiar term. If those of you who are Christians. Okay. Motive is different from cause. Motive is the personal reason that a person enters into a contract. Okay. Ito si Attorney Balanag, bumibili sa Lazada. Bibili ako ng relo. 1,200 pesos na relo. Looks nice, you know. Binasa ko yung mga reviews, mukhang maandar naman, nagtagal naman isang taon. Okay na yun. Gamitin ko lang yan habang nagdadrive ako. Para kung mahablot, okay lang. Magkano lang naman, di ba? It's not a Rolex, which is, you know, a Rolex is a minimum of 500,000 pesos. Alam nyo ba ang hobby ngayon dahil napakakurap ang mga tao sa gobyerno? Lalo ng panahon ni Duterte. It's watch spotting. Watch. Ang dami pala mga tao sa Pilipinas, kabisado nila kung yung mga mamahal na watch. So nakikita nila yung picture ni Duterte, gumagamit ng relo na halagang 10 million, si Bato gumagamit ng relo na halagang 25 million. I don't own a Rolex, and even if I could afford it, I probably wouldn't buy it. Maybe I'll buy one Rolex, the Rolex Submarine Commander because it's a very good watch. But other than that, who wants to wear a 1 million peso watch? I mean, you could get your hand cut off for that. But some people do. And some people notice it. And nakikita nila, how can Duterte afford 15 million peso? Magkano ba sweldo niya? How can Bato afford 28 million, 25 million peso watch? Ano yung mga mamahaling watch sa Switzerland? Ganun. Okay. Bilis yata ni ba ng relo sa... Simple lang. The seller in China who is selling that watch, his only interest, his consideration, the cost of the contract is for me to buy the watch for 1,200 pesos and for the Chinese trader to sell it to me. Kasi until he delivers it to me, he cannot get his money. And until I receive it, I will not give my 1,200. So that is the cost of the contract. What is my motive? My motive is I just want to have a simple watch, a watch that I don't have to worry about. It's not like my Seikos, it's not like my Tag Heuers, my other watches that I have to be worried. Gamitin ko lang sa mga medyo formal occasion. Hindi nga sila Rolex, hindi mo nakakayang gamitin kasama ko yung mga kaibigan ng abogado, di ba? It's a simple watch. That is my motive. What is the motive of the Chinese seller? Sabihin natin, ang motive niya para makapag-ipon siya ng unti-unti siya magbibenta sa Pilipinas, sa Taiwan, sa Indonesia, through Lazada, para makapag-ipon siya kasi gusto niya magpasyal sa Europe. Yan ang ambisyon niya. Gusto niyang dalhin yung kanyang asawa, silang dalawa, kahit konting naipon nila, pupunta silang Europe kasi gusto niya raw makita yung Eiffel Tower. It's pronounced Eiffel, not Eiffel. It's spelled Eiffel, but it's pronounced Eiffel. Like the river is not the Seine River, it is the Seine. Gusto niyang pumunta sa Paris, makita yung Eiffel Tower at mag-tour sa Seine River. Okay, yun ang vision. But you see, the motive has nothing to do with the contract. The motive is purely subjective. That's what 1351 says. Ito yung sinasabi ko, 1352. Pag walang consideration, walang contract. Tapos kung illegal uli, unlawful, under the public policy, gano'n, it is also void. A false cause, a false consideration will also be void. Dito yung pag-usapan nating simulated contract. Remember I talked about simulated contract last time. Ang simulated contract, yan ay kasunduan na hindi nagsasaad kung ano talaga ang pakay ng dalawang parties. So kung babasahin mo, parang ang pakay nila ay sale, but actually pacto de retro. Diba? And pactum commissarium is illegal under the law, under contract law. Okay, so we're ending in 10 minutes. Let's get back at $15.40. I'll give you 20-minute break. So that we'll continue this. Para konting pasensya na lang mga kaibigan, matatapos na tayo sa semestro. Okay, so I'll just finish this. Simulated contracts do not produce the intended effect and therefore are prohibited by the law. Okay, so I think I gave you an example last time. The most common example is yung simulated contracts deed of sale ng lupa, to avoid taxes. Okay, so konti na lang tayo. I will assign a form of contracts to you. Siguro mga 15 minutes tayo mamaya. We're on the last legs, ladies and gentlemen. I am very proud to have been with you together this semester on this journey. I'll see you in 20 minutes, okay? So I'll give you another link later. Thank you.